We walk through life assuming that what we desire will align with what others want from us, but in truth, we are blind to the flaws that corrode our inner being. Women, as discerning as they are, often see through these imperfections. They are not drawn to the outward displays of strength, wealth, or charm as much as to the substance of our character. Stoicism teaches us that the way to true virtue, and thus true companionship, is through the mastery of self. Today we explore 8 traits in men that women despise, not because they are shallow, but because they reflect the chaos we have failed to confront within. Have you ever felt like you're standing still while the world moves ahead? Do you ever wonder why some men fall into mediocrity, while others rise to unshakable greatness? The answers lie not in strength or wealth, but in mastering your mind, controlling your emotions, and stepping up when life demands it. In this video, we're diving into the hidden traits that hold men back, the ones women can't stand, and the ones that are keeping you from becoming the man you are destined to be. It's time to stop living in the shadows of fear, doubt, and inaction. If you're ready to break through, elevate your mind, and reshape your destiny, you've come to the right place. Join us on this journey of Stoic wisdom where self-discipline, fortitude, and true strength are the only paths forward. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's rise to the challenge together. Certainly. Let's delve deeper into emotional volatility and weakness of will, as these are critical aspects that a Stoic believer would emphasize in the pursuit of self-mastery and inner strength. Emotional volatility. Imagine a man who reacts to every slight inconvenience with outbursts of anger or frustration. One day he may appear calm, but the next he is overcome with rage or jealousy, driven by the unpredictable swings of external events. This emotional instability is not only damaging to him but also to those around him, especially to the relationships he values most. Women, and people in general, can sense when someone is not in control of their emotions, when their mood fluctuates based on circumstances, rather than being anchored in inner stability. From a Stoic perspective, emotional volatility is a clear sign that a man has not yet mastered himself. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It is the realization that we cannot control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond, that forms the backbone of Stoic thought. Emotional volatility arises when a man is at the mercy of his external environment, allowing circumstances to dictate his internal state. This lack of control over one's emotions is despised because it signifies weakness. For the Stoic, anger, jealousy, and impulsive reactions are seen as destructive emotions. They cloud judgment, make us slaves to the moment, and pull us further away from the inner peace that is our true goal. When a man is emotionally volatile, he is, in essence, revealing his vulnerability, his inability to govern himself. Women instinctively recognize that a man who is ruled by his emotions is unreliable and unstable. Stoicism teaches that a man must strive for ataraxia, a state of serene calmness, unmoved by external events. Only then does he exhibit true strength, the kind that others can depend on. This is not about becoming emotionless, but about harnessing the emotions so that they serve you rather than control you. To overcome emotional volatility, we must practice what the Stoics call prosos, mindful attention to our inner state. It is through daily reflection, self-examination, and the application of reason that we temper our emotional responses, becoming less reactive and more centered. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The man who is calm in the storm, who does not let external events disturb his inner equilibrium, is a man who commands respect. Weakness of will. Weakness of will is perhaps one of the most insidious flaws, for it hides beneath the surface, often masquerading as comfort or ease. A man who cannot hold himself to a higher standard, who falls prey to temptations, distractions, or laziness, betrays a deeper problem, a lack of discipline. Stoicism views this as one of the gravest failings, because it shows that a man is a slave to his desires rather than a master of them. Epictetus emphasized that true freedom is found in self-mastery, stating, "No man is free who is not master of himself. Weakness of will is the very antithesis of this principle. It manifests in countless ways the man who continually breaks his promises to himself, the one who cannot resist instant gratification, the one who avoids discomfort at all costs. These are not mere trivial weaknesses, they reflect a man who is unwilling or unable to rise above his baser impulses." From the Stoic viewpoint, life is full of challenges meant to test our resolve. It is not the absence of challenges that defines a strong man, but his ability to confront and overcome them. A man who gives in to every temptation, whether it be the allure of comfort, indulgence, or avoidance of difficulty, is a man who remains stagnant. He cannot grow because he is unwilling to endure the necessary pain of growth. Women, as discerning observers of character, despise weakness of will because it reveals a lack of discipline. A man without discipline is a man who is unreliable, one who cannot be counted on when adversity strikes. Musonius Rufus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things, and then proceed to greater." This teaches us that discipline is built in the small, daily choices. The man who cannot control his cravings or impulses will never be able to face the larger challenges that life presents. Strength of will is deeply tied to the Stoic virtue of fortitude, the courage to persist in the face of adversity. When a man practices fortitude, he builds resilience, the ability to withstand suffering, discomfort, and hardship. This resilience is what women respect a man who, despite the temptation to take the easy road, chooses the path of greater resistance because he knows it leads to personal growth. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that weakness of will is a self-imposed prison. The man who refuses to challenge himself, who does not strive to improve, is ultimately choosing a life of mediocrity. As Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare it, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult to dare," in the Stoic sense, is to commit to the path of discipline, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Only through this commitment can we truly embody the virtues that make life worth living. Emotional volatility and weakness of will are two sides of the same coin. Both represent a lack of mastery over oneself, a surrender to the chaos of life. But Stoicism offers a way out. Through the practice of self-control and fortitude, we can transcend these weaknesses, becoming men of substance, men who command respect not because of what we own or how we look, but because of the unwavering strength we carry within. Certainly. Let's delve deeper into the concepts of dependency on approval and lack of purpose, expanding on why these traits are detrimental to a man's character through the lens of Stoicism, and how overcoming them leads to true self-control and fortitude. Dependency on approval. A man who seeks approval from others is like a prisoner trapped in a cell he has built himself. Every word, every action, and every decision is dictated by the need for external validation. In the eyes of Stoicism, this is a fundamental flaw, as it places one's sense of self-worth in the hands of others beyond our control. It strips away autonomy and enslaves the individual to the whims and judgments of people who may neither understand nor share his values. As Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Seeking approval is one of those things. By craving acceptance from others, a man places his happiness and sense of identity in the external world, which is unpredictable, fickle, and often unreliable. This dependency signals weakness, as it shows a lack of faith in oneself and one's own judgments. Imagine a man in a crowd, adjusting his behavior to please everyone around him. At first glance, he may seem agreeable, adaptable, and even likable, but beneath the surface lies a man who is lost. He does not act out of principle, but out of fear of rejection, fear of being disliked, and fear of standing alone. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us it never ceases to amaze me we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. This contradiction reveals the emptiness inside a man who constantly seeks approval. Dependency on approval reflects a fundamental insecurity, a lack of internal grounding. Such a man is always questioning himself: did I say the right thing? Did I do enough? Do they like me? These questions gnaw away at his confidence and leave him vulnerable to manipulation, as he will bend himself to others' will in a desperate attempt to win their favor. Women, in particular, are often repelled by this behavior. They instinctively sense when a man is weak in his convictions, when he craves validation, and when he is unable to stand firm in his beliefs. This kind of man projects insecurity, and instead of earning respect, he invites pity or, worse, disdain. A man who is dependent on approval cannot be trusted to lead, to protect, or to be a source of strength. For the Stoic, the path away from this dependency lies in cultivating inner self-sufficiency. True confidence comes from within, and as Seneca wrote, a man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. It is not others' opinions that harm us, but our interpretation of their judgments. By developing self-awareness and relying on our own principles, we free ourselves from the chains of others' approval. This doesn't mean rejecting all feedback or advice from others, but rather understanding that our worth is not determined by their validation. The Stoic practice of indifference to externals is crucial here. Approval and disapproval are external judgments, things outside of our control. What we can control is our own character, our actions, and our adherence to virtue. When a man stops caring about what others think and starts focusing on living according to his own values, he gains an unshakable sense of peace. He becomes less reactive, less anxious, and more centered in himself. By overcoming the need for approval, a man becomes stronger, more independent, and more respected. He no longer seeks validation but radiates self-assurance, and this is what commands true admiration. As Epictetus reminds us, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. A Stoic man embodies his philosophy through his actions, not through the desire to win favor. His inner strength is all the approval he needs. Lack of purpose. A man without purpose is like a ship lost at sea, drifting aimlessly with no destination in sight. This lack of purpose not only leaves him feeling unfulfilled, but also projects a sense of confusion, instability, and weakness to others. Women, in particular, notice when a man has no clear direction in life, and this lack of purpose can be one of the most unattractive traits because it reveals a man who lacks both vision and drive. From a Stoic perspective, living without purpose is a waste of the short time we have on earth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Life is fleeting, and to wander through it without purpose is to squander the gift of existence. Purpose gives life meaning and structure. It is the fuel that drives us to grow, to push through challenges, and to leave a legacy of virtue. A man who lacks purpose often feels restless. He drifts from one job to another, from one relationship to another, or from one hobby to another, never committing fully to anything. He may try to fill this emptiness with distractions, entertainment, material possessions, or fleeting pleasures, but none of these can provide the deep fulfillment that comes from having a clear purpose. His life becomes a series of reactions to external events, rather than a proactive journey toward a meaningful goal. This absence of purpose also breeds anxiety and discontent. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." A man who lacks a central mission in life scatters his energy across trivial pursuits, never truly excelling or finding fulfillment. He becomes a jack of all trades but a master of none, constantly searching for something to fill the void. For the Stoic, the solution is to cultivate a life of purpose rooted in virtue. Purpose is not something we find in external achievements, wealth, or status. It is found in living in accordance with our highest values, in striving to become the best version of ourselves, and in contributing to the greater good. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. A man of purpose defines his own path, grounded in the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Seneca reminds us it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Let us not waste any more time seeking approval or wandering without purpose. Let us live with intention, guided by our principles, and find the strength to stand firm in the face of life's challenges. In doing so, we become the men we were meant to be: strong, independent, and unwavering in our pursuit of excellence. Let's dive deeper into dishonesty and vanity and superficiality, expanding on why these traits undermine a man's character from a Stoic perspective, and how overcoming them leads to inner strength and true virtue. Both traits stand in direct opposition to the Stoic ideals of integrity, humility, and self-discipline, and they hinder the pursuit of personal growth, self-control, and fortitude. Dishonesty, at its core, is a betrayal of oneself. A man who lies not only deceives others but also fractures his own integrity. According to Stoicism, integrity, being true to oneself and acting in accordance with reason and virtue, is central to living a good life. A man who is dishonest breaks this moral contract with himself. By engaging in deceit, he distances himself from the truth, which in Stoic philosophy is the very foundation of wisdom. Epictetus spoke of truth as the essential element of a life well lived. He who is not trustworthy is not a man, and he who cannot be trusted cannot truly be free. A dishonest man is not free because he is enslaved by his lies. He must constantly juggle falsehoods, always fearing exposure, and this robs him of the peace that comes from living in alignment with his principles. Dishonesty creates anxiety, guilt, and a lingering sense of unworthiness because the dishonest man knows deep down that his words and actions do not reflect who he truly is. Women are particularly sensitive to dishonesty in men. A woman can sense when a man is not genuine, when his words are merely crafted to manipulate or deceive. Such behavior signals weakness, cowardice, and insecurity, qualities that repulse rather than attract. When a man is dishonest, he communicates that he is untrustworthy, that he cannot be relied upon, and that he lacks the moral fortitude to face reality as it is. For the Stoic, honesty is not merely a virtue but a commitment to living authentically, regardless of the consequences. A man who is honest is not swayed by fear or the desire to gain advantage through deceit. Instead, he stands firm in the truth, knowing that lies only weaken his character. As Marcus Aurelius stated, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This simple rule provides a guiding principle for living with integrity. Dishonesty, on the other hand, erodes the very foundation of trust, both with others and within oneself. The Stoic man recognizes that truth is the path to freedom. By embracing honesty, he strengthens his moral core and gains the confidence that comes from living in harmony with his values. This truth-telling also provides clarity in his relationships, allowing others to trust him and rely on him as a man of principle. In contrast, dishonesty leads to the fragmentation of one's inner world. Each lie, no matter how small, creates a ripple effect of guilt and unease. The dishonest man must remember his falsehoods, maintain facades, and manipulate situations to sustain his lies, which drains his energy and undermines his sense of self. Dishonesty reflects a lack of courage, the unwillingness to face the consequences of one's actions or to admit uncomfortable truths. As Stoics, we aim to conquer fear, not let it rule us. Seneca once said, "The greatest way to live with honor in this world is to be what we pretend to be." A man who is dishonest pretends to be something he is not, and in doing so, he distances himself from his true potential. Honesty, on the other hand, strengthens one's resolve, as it allows a man to face life without fear or shame, secure in the knowledge that he stands for something real. Vanity and superficiality. Vanity and superficiality are traits deeply at odds with Stoic philosophy. as they represent an obsession with the external appearance, status, and the fleeting opinions of others. A vain man places undue emphasis on how others perceive him, often to the detriment of his inner character. He cares more about his outward image than about cultivating virtue, and this imbalance signals a lack of depth and self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius warned against this obsession with external appearances in his Meditations. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Similarly, how much more destructive are the effects of vanity than the superficial praise it may bring? A man who is vain seeks validation through his looks, material possessions, or social status, but these things are all impermanent and lie beyond his control. Superficiality often manifests in the form of a shallow focus on wealth, appearance, or popularity, things that may temporarily impress others, but fail to nurture the deeper qualities of the soul. Women often see through vanity and superficiality, recognizing that these traits are signs of insecurity and a lack of substance. A man who is overly concerned with how he looks, what he owns, or how others perceive him reveals that his sense of self-worth is fragile and dependent on external markers of success. In Stoicism, the cultivation of inner virtues such as wisdom, courage, and self-discipline is paramount. These are qualities that cannot be seen with the naked eye, yet they are far more valuable than any external attribute. A man obsessed with superficial matters fails to develop these internal strengths, leaving himself empty and shallow. Epictetus reminds us it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Similarly, it is not what you look like or what you have, but who you are inside that defines your worth as a man. Vanity also breeds arrogance. A man who places his value in his appearance or status tends to look down on others, believing himself superior based on superficial qualities. This arrogance creates a barrier to meaningful relationships and personal growth, as it distances him from humility, the ability to see oneself honestly, and to recognize areas for improvement. Arrogance repels those around him, and women in particular are turned off by a man who is self-absorbed and unable to connect on a deeper, more genuine level. The Stoic antidote to vanity is to focus on what truly matters, developing inner strength and character. As Seneca wrote, virtue is the only true nobility. True nobility comes not from how we look or what we own, but from how we live, how we treat others, and how we strive to become better human beings. A man who cultivates inner virtue will naturally attract respect and admiration because his worth is grounded in something enduring and real. Superficiality also signals a lack of purpose. A man who spends his energy on maintaining appearances or accumulating wealth without deeper meaning is lost in the pursuit of empty goals. His life becomes a series of distractions, and he misses out on the true joy and fulfillment that come from living with purpose and intention. Marcus Aurelius urged us to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. A good man does not concern himself with superficial judgments. He concerns himself with becoming virtuous, wise, and courageous. When a man transcends vanity and superficiality, he no longer seeks validation from external sources. He no longer cares about fleeting opinions or appearances because he understands that his true worth comes from within. This shift allows him to focus on what really matters: his actions, his principles, and his ability to live a life of meaning. A Stoic man does not seek admiration for how he looks or what he owns, but for the integrity of his character. His humility and focus on inner growth make him resilient, self-assured, and deeply attractive in a way that goes beyond the surface. By overcoming vanity, he gains a sense of peace and self-confidence that no amount of external praise can provide. Dishonesty and vanity and superficiality are destructive traits that erode a man's character from within. Dishonesty fractures trust, both with oneself and others, and reflects a fear of facing reality. Vanity and superficiality, on the other hand, show an obsession with the external world, leaving a man shallow, insecure, and disconnected from what truly matters. Both traits hinder personal growth and prevent a man from cultivating the inner virtues that lead to true strength, self-control, and fortitude. As Marcus Aurelius urged, we must focus on what is within our control: our actions, our virtues, and our character. By embracing honesty, humility, and depth, a man frees himself from the destructive emotions that come from living a life of deceit and superficiality. He becomes grounded, confident, and truly admirable, not for his appearance or possessions, but for the strength and wisdom he embodies. Through Stoic philosophy, we learn that true power and fulfillment come from within, from living with integrity and purpose. As we shed the need for dishonesty and vanity, we grow into the men we are meant to be: strong, virtuous, and unwavering in our pursuit of excellence. Seneca said it best: "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. The journey to becoming a great man is not easy, but it is a path worth walking, guided by the principles of Stoicism." Fear of responsibility. Fear of responsibility is a trait that directly contradicts the Stoic ideal of accepting one's duties with resolve and courage. In Stoicism, responsibility is not a burden to be feared, but an opportunity to grow, to lead, and to act in accordance with virtue. A man who shies away from responsibility signals that he is unwilling to embrace the challenges and commitments that life presents. He fears failure, judgment, or the weight of accountability, and in doing so, he denies himself the chance to become stronger and wiser. Stoics believe that we are placed on this earth to fulfill certain roles, and with those roles come responsibilities. Epictetus reminds us: remember that you are an actor in a play, and the playwright chooses the manner of it. If it is short, then it is short; if long, then long. If he wishes you to play a beggar, a cripple, a ruler, or a private citizen, see that you play it well. Here, Epictetus emphasizes that we do not choose the responsibilities that life places upon us, but we do choose how we meet them. A man who avoids responsibility reveals that he is afraid to act, afraid to rise to the occasion, and afraid to embrace his role in life. Women tend to be drawn to men who are reliable and capable of handling responsibilities. A man who avoids responsibility communicates weakness, lack of initiative, and a deep-rooted insecurity. He signals that he cannot be trusted to lead, to protect, or to act with decisiveness when the situation demands it. Seneca wrote, "A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. In the same way, a man who convinces himself that responsibility is something to fear creates his own misery." He limits himself by choosing comfort over challenge and safety over growth. Fear of responsibility is often tied to the fear of failure. A man who avoids taking on obligations or commitments may do so because he is afraid of the potential consequences. He is afraid to fail, to fall short, or to be held accountable for the outcome. This avoidance leads to stagnation. Instead of growing through adversity, he remains passive, missing the opportunities that responsibility provides for self-improvement and personal growth. Stoicism teaches us that fear is an obstacle to be overcome. A man who fears responsibility must learn to see it not as a burden but as an honor. As Seneca stated, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare it, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult. By stepping into responsibility, by daring to act even in the face of uncertainty, a man cultivates courage, fortitude, and the ability to rise to any challenge. In doing so, he becomes a man who can be relied upon, a man of substance and strength. Inaction in the face of challenge. Inaction in the face of challenge is a manifestation of fear, laziness, or a lack of inner resolve, all of which stand in opposition to the Stoic virtues of courage, resilience, and the proactive pursuit of excellence. Challenges are not obstacles to be avoided but opportunities for growth, for testing one's character, and for developing the strength to endure and overcome adversity. A man who remains inactive when faced with challenges chooses comfort over courage, stagnation over growth, and in doing so, weakens his own spirit. Stoics see challenges as an essential part of life's process, necessary for the development of personal strength and virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action, What stands in the way becomes the way. This profound statement reflects the Stoic belief that every challenge we face is an opportunity to become stronger. To avoid challenges is to avoid the very thing that sharpens our resolve, tests our limits, and helps us grow. For the Stoic man, action is essential. He does not wait for the perfect conditions to act, nor does he allow fear or uncertainty to hold him back. He understands that every moment of inaction is a moment wasted, a missed opportunity to test his strength and prove his worth. Challenges, for the Stoic, are not things to fear but things to embrace. They are the crucibles in which character is forged. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoic man understands that his true power lies not in controlling the challenges that come his way, but in how he chooses to respond to them. By embracing responsibility and acting with courage in the face of adversity, he strengthens his character, gains inner peace, and becomes a man worthy of admiration and respect. To overcome fear of responsibility and inaction is to live a life of purpose and virtue. It is to rise to the occasion, face challenges head-on, and grow through every trial. In this way, the Stoic man becomes a beacon of strength, resilience, and unwavering resolve, able to inspire others and lead by example. In the end, these traits, emotional volatility, lack of will, dependency on approval, purposelessness, dishonesty, vanity, fear of responsibility, and inaction, are not just despised by women. They are despised by all who seek virtue, for they are signs of a life lived in chaos, disconnected from the higher principles that Stoicism demands of us. We as men must rise above these flaws, not just for the sake of those around us, but for ourselves. To overcome destructive emotions, to seek fortitude in the face of hardship, and to maintain self-control amidst the turmoil of life. This is the path to becoming the men we were meant to be. Let us walk it together.